accountability chain process, or we call the financial management accountability model, which is this model actually give you something to interpret, to look for, and then we can see actually this is a very comprehensive model that if you understand this model, it's like if you remember when we discussed about topic financial accounting practice, I want you to understand the diagram in the page 5 at the textbooks on the consolidated fund. So if you understand the consolidated fund, you can able to understand what we want to do related with the journal entries under the MCB for the federal government. Okay, so similar to that, this model actually give you a very compact information about financial management in Malaysia. So it include the you can see here there are several parties. There is when we group, we can divide it into three different group of the institution that are involved in the financial management. So we have the parliament institution that represent the legislative branch, auditor general department that represent the ombudsman entity, and the rest is we talk about the executive that is comprised of the government agencies who are actually the main player and the implementer of the financial management in Malaysia. So therefore, later on, when we talk about the next topic on the performance measurement, we also deal with this. And if you remember last time when we talked about the budgeting, the audit, the accounting, and also the reporting, so it also involves this. Okay, so that is the first that you can gain from this model. The second, this model also show you about the process, financial management process, which is most of you are able to describe from there. When I do ask last time, most of the student just able to describe the financial management process, which is, if you look here, we have some arrow. There is first is the red arrow. The second is the what we say that what is the color here? We can see the brown, like a brown color arrow, and also the green arrow. So and then the color of the arrow also represents something if you able to look for. So actually the arrow for the red arrow, this is at the planning process. This is at the planning process. This is all at the planning process. That is the represented by the red arrow. So while for the brown arrow, this is at the implementation. At the implementation process happen at the implementation or during the year. And at the green color arrow, this is the post-implementation process. Okay, that is the third. And the fourth one is on the some arrow have the one direction, another arrow have a two direction. So which is only just three arrow have a two direction, or two is come from the red arrow, and one is come from the brown arrow. Okay, so the red arrow for the two ways direction, you can see that this is talk about the both agency, they need to receive and provide, receive and provide. So this is about the two arrow. Okay, so that is the number 4. And the number 5, and the last thing and the most important thing, what should we provide, what should we can describe from this model is talk about the financial management accountability process. Financial management accountability process. That is, you can describe from this model. Okay, so the accountability here is we need to understand what are the accountability. As we discussed the concept of accountability before, this is a talk about the responsibility of the authoritative. And then the authoritative here are represented by the agency, So we have the treasury as a main player, or we call the heart of the system. So treasury as a secretariat. So what are the responsibility of the treasury related with the financial management? So you need to stress on the responsibility of the treasury related with the financial management. Among others, the treasury, they are responsible to deal with the budget. They are responsible deal with the implementation of the budget. They are responsible to deal with the approved budget. So there is the 3 part of the treasury responsibility. The first one is about the budget planning. The second one is talk about the budget approval, and the third one is talk about the budget implementation. Okay, so on the budget planning, among the responsibility of the treasury is by formulate the current policy that need to be implemented or followed by the operating agency. So this matter, treasury responsible to provide that guideline and so on. So this can be done through providing the mechanism that we call the call circular. The call circular, which is treasury need to produce or provide the circulars to the agency. That is the agency that is come from the ministry, department, and so on. Requires them to prepare their budget based on the guideline given and based on the date required. So that is the first of the treasury responsibility. The second treasury's responsibility related with the financial management is by combining all the individual budget submitted by the operating agency and start prepare the national budget, yearly national budget. So after complete everything, the national yearly budget needs to be submit to the parliament for approval by the treasury. That is the third responsibility related with the financial management. So that is the third. And the fourth responsibility is the Treasury need to implement the approved budget by approve all the amount stated in the budget accordingly through signing or providing the warrant, the approval for the spending to the particular agency and also to the central agency who are responsible on that matters, namely the Accountant General Department. Okay. So there is the accountability needs to be responsible by the Treasury as a heart of the accounting system or financial system in Malaysia. So there is the Treasury, and then you need to explain or describe the responsibility of the other parties. So for example, let we see another example, the parliament. At the parliament are responsible on budget approval, and then the actual spending and the post examination of the actual spending. So that is the responsibility on the parliament. Let's say we talk about the budget planning. The parliament need to study the budget proposal submitted by the executive through Treasury, and then after studying and then follow all the procedure at the parliament are responsible to make a decision either to approve or to reject the proposed budget by the executive through Treasury. So that is the responsible. The parliament not just let that budget be discussed and then stop with there. No, they need to complete their responsibility. Their end responsibility is either to approve or to reject that budget proposed by the executive. So that is at the budget planning. And then throughout the year, the parliament from time to time will scrutinize the action of the executive related with the financial management. And at the end of the following year, so once the report of the activity, financial activity submitted to the parliament have a responsible to look for all the report, whether they are consistent or not with the what have been approved during the budget approval. And once the cases happen through finding or report by the Auditor General, so the Parliament need to take action through their standing committee, namely Public Account Committee, to further examine the witnesses highlighted by the Auditor General and take a necessary action to ensure that the same witnesses do not exist for the future, and the related parties who are responsible being taken the necessary penalty. So that is when you want to describe the financial management accountability process in Malaysia. So the rest I left to you to elaborate the responsibility for the other parties that exist in this model. Okay, so that is when we talk about the accountability model. Okay, the next is we talk about the mechanism for financial management accountability. So mechanism, the mechanism for the institutional mechanism, that is the institution have been we have been identified the institution that are responsible to ensure that financial management accountability are practiced and whole. So this is the that matters are fall under this particular institution, because we already talked before about the importance of the accountability, because through accountability we can lead to the better performance. Through accountability it lead to the more efficient and toward achieving the ultimate objective. Okay, so among the institution are, if you look here, this is we have two main institution or branch, that is the legislative and also the executive. And beside that, we also have four agency who are looking and then responsible on that, which is come from the MACC, Auditor General, Complaint Bureau, and the media. So this all of these six institutions, if they are played their role better and then uphold their responsibility, it will lead to the better financial management practice in Malaysia. Okay, so let we look on each of that. Okay, so legislative, we already discussed what are the legislative, which is the legislative among their power is to approve, or in more general we can say that the legislative have a power to what we call check and balance, to check the action of the executive. Especially in our case, we are just limit to the area of the financial management. So in general, in all aspect, but since our topic is talk about the financial management, so we look on the power of the power of the legislative related with the financial management. Among others are to power of the legislative, as we discussed in the tutorial one, in the top question number 1. So power related with the revenue, and power related with the expenditure, and power related with the financial statement and audit report. That is among the power. So when we talk about the power, we need to support with the related and relevant article or section. That is talk about the power. But now we are not talk about the power, but we talk about the responsible. Responsibility, they are not part of the power, but they are come together with the power. So come together. Once you have the
嗨，大
power,
家好。
so you need to be
Cheers.
accountable. So therefore, it's very close, but it's not the same as I already explained to you in the previous meeting when we talk about what are the difference between the accountability and the power. So what are the responsibility or the accountability of the legislative related with the financial management? So this is among the accountability of the legislative. So the legislative need to be responsible to oversee the action of the executive. Because why? Because the power of the executive is to power of the legislative is to approve all the plan submitted by the executive related with the financial management. So once they have the power, as I said, that it comes together with the accountable. So therefore, among the accountability is to ensure that or to oversee that the action of the executive related with the approved budget. So the executive spend the money accordingly with the approved budget, because budget, as we discussed before, it is very detailed. We have the amount, we have the purpose, we have the code of account, and then deliver at the very detailed object, not just general object. So the question is, are all the planning have been are the application, the execution are follow what had been planning. That is the responsibility of the legislator. Okay, that is the first. The second, how we need to talk about, if we understand that is the responsibility of the legislator. So the next question is how the legislature control the action of the executive. How? So it can be done through oversight function and enforceability function. So that is really with the function of the legislative. Among the function of legislative is beside the lawmaking, the second function is on the oversight and enforceability. So this is talk about the oversight, and then I'm quite sure that because there is one group or two group that done on the topic of the oversight control by the legislative on the group project. Okay, so this is the legislative oversight. So legislative oversight. So how to ensure that oversight have been functioned? It can done through the debate session, question and answer session. That is among the oversight. So that is among the oversight. This is I think what are oversight and so on, you can read directly. But we talk about the tool of oversight, which is we have the ombudsman, committee of inquiry, auditing institution, specialized parliamentary committee, public hearing, interpellation. That is in terms of the theories. But in Malaysia, this is the um, tools that have been practiced in Malaysia. So normally through the hearing, committee hearing, means that any cases related with the financial management that exists, the parliament as institution, they are set up the committee hearing, a special committee hearing, and then committee hearing have a power to call the related parties to give explanation to the committee. And then the second is through public account committee. There is a special committee set up at the parliament. So beside the what we say that debate during the parliament sitting, vote during the parliament sitting, critical case mostly being referred to the PAC, Public Account Committee, which is we already discussed in the previous topic about the function, power and responsibility of the Public Account Committee. Okay, so there is the legislative, and at the executive, this is the among the responsibility of the executive. So please bear in mind, please be understand, as I said, that the power and accountability is not the same. So please do not confuse between the power and the accountability. For example, the government executive have a power to spend the money that being approved through the budget from the consolidated fund. That is talk about their power. So the controlling officer have a power to make the environment, to make changes from one head to another head of the spending approval by the parliament. There is the power. But here we are not talk about the power, but we talk about the accountability. So this is among the accountability that rests under the executive, represented by several agencies. Because executive, as we say that, executive appoint the agency to run and to help them in delivering. So among the responsibility of the executive are manage appropriation. So appropriation need to be managed. So not just like that, but need to be managed. Detail out the provision. Approve the environment. Once the head of department request for the environment, the treasury have an authority to approve. So similar to when we talk about the official, which is the end person who are have ending activities of the spending. So in order to spend, make it spending, they need to be look from the effective and efficient. So by they follow all the requirement. For example, if when we talk about the let's say spending for the amount more than 10,000, So they need to follow the guideline on the quotation, not just go and they buy like that, but they need to ensure that they follow the guideline through, because 10,000 they are required to get through quotation. It's more than that, need to be have a tender. So there is among the responsibility of the executive. Beside that, the executive also introduced several institution like the IIM. So establish IIM to look on that matters, and then set up a PCB so to look on that matters. So this is when we talk about the responsibility of the executive. So I think so many I stress out in the lecture note, among others. All this is come from the executive, because executive are more responsible on the implementation. So introduce NKRAs, and then uphold the integrity value. There is some example of that. Okay, and then for the third institution, this is we call the MACC, which is MACC. There is starting with the ACA, and then rebrand to the MACC by given more power. And then MACC, they are more concentrate on the corruption, abuse of power, and so on. So in simple, the MACC more on the criminal aspect. So on the criminal aspect, which is they are talk about the investigation, and then what we say that try to combat the corruption and so on. So that is the MACC. So which is why we say that, hey, what are the relation between MACC and the accountability? So as we discussed, the accountability actually it not fall under the criminal originally, but from the midst of the accountability, we of the accountability, it is a very high tendency to go practice for the corruption. Lack of the accountability lead to the corruption. So therefore, the main thing for the MACC is, beside investigation on to proving that cases, but they try to protect. So they try to protect, to ensure there is the witnesses not lead to the corruption. So there is the why accountability is part and parcel of the responsibility of the MACC. Okay, so the fourth one is the Auditor General Office. And then in the Auditor General Office, you can see there are several innovative action that have been introduced and implemented by the Auditor General. Auditor General actually is a very, very important in order to ensure the accountability are being practiced. And then I think it's better to look on this. This is the another model that show you where the contribution of the um, Auditor General to um, related with the financial management accountability. So they have done through the audit process. So by the audit, the government auditing is one part of the accountability actually. Beside the law is requirement to be audit, but the uh, 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 um, niche to the audit is to protect and to enhance the accountability. Because audit through the examination, they are able to find out the witnesses, the what we call um, uh, not comply with the requirement and so on. So therefore, auditor general, if you look from the other country also, is a very, very important, especially in enhancing the financial management accountability. Okay, and then this is a public complaint bureau. This is one of the ombudsman agency established by the executive, which is the PCB. They are more on the seeking the response from the public toward the service providing by the agency. Yes, you can say that it should be a direct channel to the particular agency. But if we are complaining about the service by the agency, it may take action, it may ignore, because the agency have their own stand. Like for example, you criticize me. If you criticize me directly, I may accept, I may reject, I may ignore. So what are the purpose of that? So therefore, we need to have another agency that is responsible to look for that matters, to be fair for both, for the complainant and for the agency who are subject to the complaint. Because sometimes complaint is valid, sometimes complaint is not valid, because it comes to the perception and so many factors. So therefore, similar to the government, beside the agency itself receive the given the opportunity to the public to criticize them. So the government established one ombudsman agency, namely PCB, to look that complaint made by the public toward the government service, and then from there they are disclose all this matter, make it publish, and then channel, and then study the seriousness and whether this is have a case or not. That is the way how the PCB contribute to the accountability. Okay, and then this is the media and civil group, which is this is also one aspect where we have the a good way. What I mean here is we want to create a good people in the country, which is the people are aware, not ignore, but aware about that matters. So when the people are aware, so all the case have been taken rightly. For example, like today, you can see that how the media play a very good when we talk about the road bully. Always you can find through Facebook or whatever, they are viral about the road bully, the car being bullied by the others and so on. And then from there, this is to show the awareness of the people. So when the awareness of the people, this is one force to the government agency to make the right action. So let's say once the police who are responsible on the road safety, for example, or the road transport department, so they will take the further action by investigate that viral case and then identify who are doing that matters and then take a necessary action. So with there is one way we can provide or we can able to achieve the conducive environment of that matters. Okay, so previously we talked about the institution they are responsible, and the next is this is among the effort and initiative have been taken by the responsible institution to enhance the financial management accountability. So this, if you can see, there is a very close, but we look from a different perspective. The first perspective, we look from general, there is the responsibility of this particular institution. The next is we look what are the initiative or action have been taken by this particular institution to ensure that the financial management accountability are being practiced. So therefore, for example, when we look from the initiative by the legislative, so this is among the initiative, approve the new law to allow punitive measure. Before that, we don't have any law to when dealing with the waste and so on. Waste, leakage, and so on. But now the legislative, through the executive, take initiative to introduce a new law. Those who are making, for example, intentionally waste or leakage of the public fund, they are subject to the penalty. And then the legislative also approved the Ombudsman Commission. So, which is there is the commission are given the power to make necessary action related with the public complaint. And then uphold and enhance the PAC power. That is among the initiative given by the legislative, because PAC they are shortage of the resources. So now by given the more power through provide a necessary fund, the PAC can appoint their officer to help them in more responsible on that matters. Okay, so this is by executive, and then you can see there is mostly come from the executive, because executive is the main player. So executive is the main player. So like in your case lah, I see that for those who want to be responsible on this paper, this is not come from the lecturer. It should be come from yourself, the student itself. What are the initiative for you to understand this paper? So the lecturer, yes, the lecturer have some part of that by provide a very good and then allow the discussion, encourage to find out the extra article and so on. But there is the encouragement, but the effort must be come from the student itself. You need to find out, you need to read, you need to understand, you need to discuss, you need to deliberate. So that is similar to that. So the executive need to take the necessary action. And this is among the uh, uh, initiative and effort by the executive by introduce new performance measurement indicator, for example. This is a very good one. And then this is when we will discuss more detail in the next topic on the performance measurement indicator. So previously, maybe our indicator is very what we call very brief, very lacking, not really represent the that matters. But right now, the indicator is more conducive, more accurate. So that is the main thing. And a good example for you to understand is simple. Just we take in our case, in your case, you every student who are registered, they are being evaluated through the academic performance. That is we call the GPA and CGPA. So there is the uh, academic performance of yours. And then at the end of the period of study, so you will be awarded the um, um, certificate of the bachelor degree. So the certificate of bachelor degree, you will be class into first class, second class, lower and upper, based on your achievement. So, but to get the first class, in the previous year, in the early stage, in 80s and 90s, it is solely based on the CGPA. If you are score around 3.85, so you are qualified to get a first class. But later on, due to the several factors, CGPA only is not accurate measurement to award the student with the first class. So later, the management feel that beside the academic performance, we will need to includes the non-academic performance. So therefore, they are taken the several indicator like contribution toward society, ability to become the leaders, and so on. So if you have all these criteria beside your CGPA, so you will be awarded the first class. It's not, you are not qualified to get the first class. That is example of the measurement, so performance measurement. And then the others is establish new agency, namely GIEC, to curb the corruption, draft new national anti-corruption plan, and so on. What I have been listed here is not just for a current year, but starting with the earlier until the latest. So this is almost still under the executive, setting up committee, integrity committee, and so on. Okay, and then this is another is on the KPI, benchmark, and so on. Okay, so this is what we can say on the effectiveness of the financial management accountability effort, strengthening internal control, strengthening the financial management infrastructure, and so on. Okay. And this is by the NAD. NAD as one of the main pillars institution in the financial management accountability, also take a necessary initiative and effort to uh, um, enhance the financial management accountability. So among others is like introduce a participative audit approach, and then present the audit report in the to the parliament for 3 times. Previously, just one a year, but later on, I think starting with the 2017 or 2016, they are sorry 2013. They are presented 3 times a year. So 3 times because we have a 3 different audit, accreditation audit, compliance audit, and also the performance audit, which is by separated like that. Concentration is by the legislative is more on that matters. Implement Auditor General dashboard, which is this is the online information that directly can be accessed by the public on the audit report for the government agency. So introduce FMAI. This is another thing which is previously on the compliance audit. The auditor just examine based on the requirement. But now, examination on the compliance audit are based on the accountability index, which is comprised of the I think around 8 areas that we already discussed in the previous topic, comprised of the 8 areas that being examined by the audit on the compliance. Okay, so this is the activities under the PAA, participative audit approach. They prepared the balance audit report, management audit report, management consultancy. So this is all more the effort have been done by the NAD. So this is on the engage for the educate. So by include in the seminars and so on, seminars, conference, workshop. So there is one topic talk about the financial management accountability. So this is one way of the audit in audit initiative related with the financial management. Okay, so this is what I have been said before on the program to improve good governance accountability. Present 3 times, dashboard, and then FMAI. And then this is the area of the that been evaluated on the FMAI. And the last is on the stewardship, as I do touch before. I want you to understand it is very close between the stewardship and the accountability. But what are the different? Stewardship, they are not come with the power. Stewardship, they are not come with the power. But not means that those who have a power do not have stewardship. But just to give you the understanding, if that matters come with the power, means that the people who have a power, they need to be accountable. They need to be. They are required to be. This is talk about the responsibility. It must be. But those who want to be responsible, who want to be. So means that this is the willingness who want to be responsible. That is we call the stewardship. So it's the same thing but a different degree. There is a difference between the stewardship and the accountability. So therefore, by right, those who have a power, regardless of the level, whether at the very lower line manager or we call the very lower employee, until the very top person, they need to have both accountable and stewardship. Accountable and stewardship. So if they just have the accountable, it is not enough because it does limit with their power. Means that they are doing it because this is their they hold that post. But if you have both accountable and stewardship, that is the best way. So therefore, practice of both concepts, stewardship and accountability, will lead to a better management. Because beside you just focus on your accountability or your responsibility related with your duties and tasks, you are also willingness to be responsible. A good example like this: you as a student, your accountable is to study, to do everything, and then make understanding. But if you are to help your friend, that is your willingness. You are not required to, but you are willingness, because why not, instead of we just success or learn for us, but we are glad to look that our friend also success. So our friend also success. We are success together. That is the stewardship. That is the willingness. So like you can see that there is a rubbish around yours. If you are the leaders, of course you need to be responsible to detail out who will clean that rubbish and so on. But let's say you are not the leaders, because you are stay in the area, so you are responsible. You are willingness to contribute to that by you are clean, show good attitude to the others, and so on. So that is the stewardship. And then in the public sector, this is the best what we call the best model to show you the difference between the accountability and stewardship. So if you look from there, we have two parties, the government and the public. So the government and the public. So this is when we talk about in a country. So we have a government. Government, we already discussed who are government. Means there a group of people who are given the power to run the country, who are given the power to run the country. And the public, what are the public? Is referred to the society or the people or the citizen who are the owner of the country. So the citizen. So the citizen or the public give the power to the government. That is we call the stewardship, because they are given the power in a voluntary basis. They are casted through the system that is namely the election. So that is the system that are implemented in our country. in other country, they are maybe implement another system, not the election system. But all this matter is we call the stewardship. The stewardship. Okay, and then on the other hand, the government to the public, the government to the public. So the government to the public, that is we call the accountability, because why? The government, you obtain the power. So once you obtain the power, once you have the power, you need to be accountable. So therefore, any mistake made by the government, let's say, when we talk about the best example, just last two week we have a flood in the migratory area in Selangor, and then why the people who are affected by the flood are angry toward the government? But right, what are why you are angry to the government? The flood is not come from the government, but they are angry because why? Because the government, first, the government do not help them. The second, the decision on the development of this country are made by the government. So let's say, for example, make a canal, um, um, area of the housing part area, industrial part area, the river, and so on, all belong to the government decision. So therefore, the public angry toward the government. If no, we say that, hey, what are the risks with them? No, because the government hold the power and the government need to be accountable. So, and then the accountability of the government, they are delivered through good and service. This is the way the government being accountable to the public. So being accountable to the public, that is we call the good and service. It should one arrow here in below. The public steward to the government through deliver the ballot or the vote to the government, or what we say that give the cooperative with the government by they follow all the government instruction. Okay, so with that, that's all I think for this topic. And you can read, this is the among the references that I listed here for those who are interested to look in more detail, more understanding. You can find out this article and read for yourself. And then with there, I think that's all. And then we can see you in next week, inshallah, we will move to the performance measurement. This is another challenging topic actually, because it very, what we call very very brief and contradict. So it is a very difficult to understand, but I try to help you by prepare a good lecture note, and then we discuss together. Inshallah, end of this week, I able to upload that notes to your online learning. And then I think that's all for today. Any question, class?